Breaking news now in North Hills. Reports of a man with a gun puts two schools on lockdown. One of them is a voting center.
KCAL 9's Stu Mundell is live overhead in Sky 9. Stu?
Well, LAPD is out here searching. You can see the helicopter flying overhead. There were two suspects. If you know the area out here in the North Hills area, this is right off of Balboa near the cross of Nordhoff. Now, this is going to be, what we're looking at is actually in one of the neighborhoods down over there at that major intersection. That's going to be a target. There was some sort of robbery inside that target. Two suspects fled into this neighborhood, and these are the schools we're talking about. That's the bigger school right there. That's going to be Wendell Holmes. That is not the voting center, but the smaller one right here, the elementary, that's Dearborn. We were just talking to our assignment desk. You can see a number of officers in the area blocking some of the streets. But if you really make an effort, you can find your way to the front of the school, which is still open. The voting's still available. You can see some officers out there right now. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get to this school. This is going to be Dearborn Elementary out here in North Hills. Is not closed for the search right now, but it's going to be a little bit more of an effort as some of the streets in the neighborhood are closed for that gunman search. Live in Sky 9 over North Hills, I'm Stu Mundell. Back to you two in the studio.
Yeah, just give yourself a little extra time. Don't give up on getting the vote out there. All right, Stu, thank you. Also now at 4, a super busy Super Tuesday across the Southland. Many voters are standing in long lines, as you see there, to have their say in a number of races, including the presidential primary.
A lot is at stake here and across the country as well. California joins 13 other states in making some big decisions today. Voters here have a good list of ballot issues to consider today.
And among them, who will be the next president? And closer to home, LA will decide if County DA Jackie Lacey deserves another term. People in the 25th Congressional District will choose who will replace Katie Hill following a sex scandal. The LA Unified School District's board could get a slight makeover with races in Districts 3 and 7 up for grabs today. And speaking of schools, Prop 13, which would approve a $15 billion bond for school improvement projects, and Measure R, which would expand the powers of the LA County Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission.
Yes, we have just received news from CBS News that they have predicted that Joe Biden has won Virginia. So that is the latest information coming out of Virginia at this hour. Meantime, the switch to move California up in the primary season demonstrates the urgency of this year's election, and voters are driving that point home by showing up in droves across the region, as we saw in those long lines.
Yeah, they sure are. KCAL 9's Rachel Kim is live at one of those polling places. It's St. Charles Borromeo Church, not far from here in Toluca Lake. Rachel? This year's Super Tuesday offers the biggest prize ever in presidential primary politics.
And California is the reason why. It takes 1,991 delegates to clinch the Democratic presidential nomination. And more than 1,300 delegates are up for grabs tonight.
And that's a huge number, and it's only happening on this Super Tuesday because California moved its primary from June to March.
All right, let's get straight to Tom Waite in our Campaign 2020 Election Center, where some polls nationally are starting to close. Tom?
Hi there, Juan and Sharon. As you said, tonight is the biggest prize ever in presidential primary politics, and it's all because of California and our 415 delegates.
What was once just one of several local races has now become a hot one, the LA County District Attorney.
It's now front and center following Jackie Lacey's husband's armed standoff with members of the group Black Lives Matter. KCAL 9's Dave Lopez is live in downtown LA with a race that's suddenly on more people's minds. Dave. Time to get an expert's opinion.
And you may recognize him as a familiar face here at KCAL 9. It's Dave Bryant, former political reporter. He's back with us today with his insight on this Super Tuesday.
So good to see you.
Thank you, thank you. It's great to be here and to see everybody again.
Well, Dave, let's go ahead and start out by talking about Bernie Sanders. What are his chances nationally?
Well, you know, Bernie's certainly the front runner. I mean, that's not new to anybody at all. But you know what? There's a lot of pressure on the front runner right now because people have expectations. Here in California, he's expected to win by a pretty wide margin. Well, remember one thing, California is not a take-it-all win if he wins statewide. 2/3 of the delegates will be based on how they do in individual congressional districts. He's not going to win every congressional district, and that's could be a problem for him if Joe Biden makes a big stand here in California. Now, as I say, people have expectations, and if Bernie doesn't live up to those expectations, it could start to, sort of wear away the veneer of him being the leader. He lost tonight exactly in Virginia, which is a state that some people thought he would win. So it's not all, just flowers and candy for him.
Well, on that subject, what about former Vice President Joe Biden? He had a slow start. He really picked up speed.
Yeah, he did. But he's also got some questions, to be answered. A lot of questions. Was this just a freak win in South Carolina, or can he extend that tonight to other states? Now, he's been putting a lot of time and energy in southern states because these are states where more moderate Democrats are located, and he did win in Virginia already tonight, at least according to what they're saying as far as CBS's call on this. So he's got to win a lot of these southern states, but guess what? He's got another Democrat who's also putting a lot of money into those states, and that's Mr. Bloomberg. So we'll see who comes out. Bloomberg's got some things to prove as well.
Sure.
And Dave Bloomberg, first time he's going to be on the ballot.
Right.
This is, of course, a test. What does he need to do today to be victorious, and can he do it?
Well, what he has to do, I think, today is this. He has to prove that the $600 gazillion that he spent on this campaign with TV ads and all the other things actually really had some impact. And that means he's got to get at least 15% of the votes in a lot of these southern states and the other states where he has been advertising. Tennessee, for example, is a state where he's put a ton of money in, and it has to show up. And this is his first shot at actually being on the ballot. So we'll see. Because if he doesn't do well today, I think it will strengthen the idea that, hey, this is a guy who just spent a lot of money, but really hasn't made much of an impact on the public.
And of course, Elizabeth Warren, she's really hung in there, and she's hung in there strong.
She has, and some, I think, progressive supporters, Bernie supporters for sure, are hoping that she drops out because he would certainly get a lot of the votes that she would have gotten otherwise. So number one, what she has to do is win her home state. Massachusetts is up for grabs tonight. The polls say she and Bernie Sanders are neck and neck. So if she doesn't win Massachusetts tonight, it will be very difficult for her to raise funding, to continue the campaign, and to say to people, hey, look, we were able to win at least one state here. We got some delegates now, so we're ready to move on.
And momentum is so easy to lose these days.
It is,
isn't it?
as we see almost daily in this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, thanks so much.
Thank
it's
you.
good to see you.
All right, Dave Bryan will be with us all night long here on KCAL 9 and over on our sister station CBS 2. He's going to be answering all of our political questions, so make sure you stay with us all night long. And of course, the polls are open until 8 o'clock today. We have a complete list of everything you need to know before you head to a voting center. Just go to kcal9.com/election.
We'll have more Super Tuesday coverage throughout this hour for you. And then tonight, beginning at 7 p.m. and streaming on CBSN LA, we're going to have the latest results from the key races, plus analysis here and across the nation.
Well, deadly tornadoes ripped through Tennessee overnight.
One of them smashed into downtown Nashville, destroying homes, apartments, and businesses. We'll have the latest from the storm zone.
And record heat today across Southern California. I'll tell you which city so far has broken a record and what that means for the rest of the week.
Following other news, this Super Tuesday, a fire in Riverside County threatened homes after it broke out in a river bottom in Norco.
It's called the Man Fire. It started this morning in the Hidden Valley Wildlife Area near California Avenue and Grula Court. KCAL 9's Michelle Geely joins us live. And Michelle, some people were actually forced to evacuate?
That's right. I'm standing in the middle of the evacuation zone here on Viceroy Avenue, although I have seen plenty of residents who really didn't want to leave and they're still inside of their homes. Now, the reason why firefighters are keeping most of the people out, there's about 1,500, I'm told, is because they're concerned about afternoon winds that typically kick up around this time. It really hasn't happened yet, although it's still really hot out here. It's about 80 degrees. We are getting a slight breeze, but we're not seeing any smoke behind me. They've got a 20% containment on the fire. It started right behind me here in the river bottom, and they are still making water drops.
Thank you.
We had some record heat today,
sure
so
did.
perhaps that may have had something to do with that fire out there. Who knows?
But
right?
some rain on the way, Am. Some terrifying moments caught on camera in Nashville. A large, powerful tornado moved through early this morning. At least 25 people are dead and dozens of others are hospitalized. Hundreds of people lost their homes. Tens of thousands of people are without power.
And there's a lot of damage, including many polling stations on this Super Tuesday. CBS NLA's Jasmine Veal is live in the newsroom with the very latest for us. Jazz?
Yeah, so Juan and Sharon, this was an EF3 tornado with winds of up to 160 miles per hour that just tore through the Nashville area overnight with widespread damage. The death toll is expected to rise as multiple search and rescue efforts are underway.
Well, it is California's first Super Tuesday. Voters here are heading to the polls to cast their ballots in the biggest night for the presidential primary. It's also a big test for LA County's new voting machines. It's the first time the new electronic balloting system is being used in LA County, the first new design in half a century.
KCAL9's Christy Fajardo is live at the registrar's office to tell us if things are running smoothly.
Yeah.
Christy?
Thank
Now to
you.
some breaking news on this Super Tuesday.
Some more national polls are in fact closing. And Tom Waite is in our... Spoke too soon. And our Tom Waite is in our Campaign 2020 Election Center. Tom, what's going on there?
Hi there, Juan and Sharon. Yep, still here, and we have some big news to bring you. We've just gotten some new results in the Super Tuesday state of North Carolina, and we are starting to get some results in from states where polls closed about 30 minutes ago. First, let's take a look at some of these early results. CBS News is calling North Carolina for Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders has gotten Vermont. That's, of course, his home state. And the other state, Virginia, is being called now for Joe Biden. So we're going to wait to see how these delegate counts play out, because remember, the percentage of the vote in these states is very important. North Carolina, 110 delegates, that's going to Joe Biden's camp. But remember, we have to see how the percentages played out. How much votes did he get? How many did Bernie Sanders get? And so on and so forth. As we move across the country, we're of course waiting for other polls to close. In Texas, this is another huge prize here. Aside from North Carolina, Virginia, and of course California, with the biggest amount of delegates at stake. This is our list of the delegates that can be won in each of the states, California, of course, being the biggest with 415. Okay, so looking at states won, Joe Biden now has 3 with North Carolina and South Carolina, as well as Virginia. And Bernie Sanders has 3 with Nevada and also New Hampshire and Vermont. He's also in a virtual tie in Iowa with Pete Buttigieg, but of course he dropped out of the race this weekend. Okay, so taking a look at the states where polls have closed, North Carolina has 110 delegates, Virginia 99, and Vermont 16. Now, of course, the biggest prize, as we keep telling you, is our state, still to come, California, with 415 delegates. Polls in California, obviously still open. They close at 8 o'clock tonight. Okay, so here is where the vote count looks at. Got the big board here, and at 4:30 with Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, and Tom Steyer all dropping out. Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden have the big lead on the rest of the race for now. But there are still more than 1,300 delegates up for grabs. So today, including Elizabeth Warren's home state of Massachusetts, as soon as states are called and winners are declared, we'll break back in with the results. Of course, Massachusetts being such a big thing for Elizabeth Warren, that's her home state. She's a senator there, so we want to see how she does. That really might indicate what she ends up doing going forward. But now, for now, Sharon and Juan, back to you.
Yeah, it's make or break, possibly. Stay with KCAL 9 News for continuing coverage of the primary election tonight, beginning at 7 and streaming on CBS LA. We'll have the latest results from the key races here and across the nation. Well, hand sanitizer has become a hot commodity.
It sure has. Coming up, a look at how disinfecting products are selling out as coronavirus fears spread.
And I'm Sarah Donchie, live in Stevenson Ranch at Christy Smith's campaign headquarters, where staffers are getting out the vote at the very last minute and preparations are underway, while she is hoping for a victory party here in a few hours' time, and more on one of her most outspoken challengers.
I'm Chris Holmstrom, live in Santa Clarita, where I'm focusing on the Republicans for this 25th district seat. This election season, they're hoping to turn the district red again. We'll hear from the front runners. That story is coming up.